MMA and UFC week has begun. I am Brian Rose. Yes, this is London Real. And today we welcome James Thompson, who is an MMA fighter who's been around for over 10 years. He's fought in Pride Fighting Championships in Japan. He's fought in Elite Extreme Fighting. He's fought in Cage Rage in the UK. If you look at his CV of people fought, it is everyone from Bob Sapp to Kimbo Slice to you name it. Now, if you're not an MMA fan, that's okay, because getting inside the Colossus's head is an interesting experience in itself. This man has his own podcast. He has his own blog. He shoots movies. He's writing a book about himself, and he's got a really big personality and really honest about things that happened in his life, from being defeated by a bad call with Kimbo Slice, to his gambling addiction, to just coming back and really making peace with the world. So very excited to drop this episode. We could have kept talking for 3 hours, but we had to cut it off at some point. We'll definitely have James back on the show. Coming up, we have the journalist Gareth Davies, and he had a great sit down with us. We're really going to get into his head and get his thoughts about the UFC and MMA as a worldwide phenomenon. And then, of course, the following week, we've got some more people from the UFC as well. So very excited about this. If you are traditionally not a fan of the fighting arts, I implore you to stay tuned in, just from a personality point of view and even a martial arts perspective. You might learn something from these people. Just like with Dorian Yates, you didn't have to be a bodybuilder to glean some amazing things from that man. So stay tuned and let me know what you think of James. We are sponsored by our friends at Hover. They are a domain name registry company, and they do business the right way. What they do is they don't try to upsell you every chance they get on all sorts of services. They provide a fair product like the Who Is privacy service, which keeps your address private for free. They have humans on the phone that pick you up, and if you go to their website, you can just see it's all about keeping it simple and keeping it to just help the customer. And it's a really nice breath of fresh air to deal with a company like that. So if you want to register a domain name, go to hover.com/London Real. You will get 10% off. They also will be giving away a free domain name to the best quote tweeted from this episode. And trust me, the Colossus has some gems. And if you tweet the quote plus the YouTube URL and the hashtag hover domain, we're going to give away a free URL domain. And of course, if you decide to do a podcast in your city, then you get a free call with me on Skype, and I'll walk you through all the basics, everything I don't tell anyone, which is what cameras we use, what mics we use, all the behind the scenes stuff. So please check that out. We got the boys in Midwest Real. They're representing in a big way. If you want to check them out, go to midwestreal.net or subscribe. They got 3 episodes out now on iTunes. Love what they're doing. They're really going after guys aggressively. I know they were looking to get David Seaman on recently, and I just like their style. So anyone else that's thinking about starting a podcast, look at those guys as a model, and all the other guys that have dropped some reels around the world. I'm so excited. I got a funny feeling it's going to be 10 and 20 reels soon. Our other sponsor is, yes, you know it, the nootropic called Alpha Brain. You might have heard about this on Rogan's show. It is a formulated piece of vitamins and minerals that basically make your brain work better. If you want to go check it out, you can go to our website, which is londonreal.tv. Click on the banner. You'll go to On It Labs. You can check out that. They got the Hemp Force protein. They got the Shroom Tech Sport with the cordyceps mushrooms. Love all that stuff. Check it out. You might find that it changes up your training routine, makes you think different, or just take a look. Who knows? Or don't. It's all good. And finally, if you're listening on iTunes, please click on the subscribe button. We would appreciate. And if you want to see our beautiful faces, and I'm having a good hair day, come to us at YouTube channel London Real TV. Watch our stuff, like it, share it. We're on Twitter. We got crazy Twitter posse right now, lots of fun. And we're on Facebook. Come share your story. We got a special group called London Reelers, and we post all sorts of cool stuff about movies you should see, thoughts on psychedelics, all sorts of crazy stuff. And of course, you can come to our website, londonreal.tv. We have a forum there that's getting bigger and bigger. And finally, if you want to volunteer and become an intern, drop me a message on info@londonreal.tv. I'm getting great messages from people from all around the world. If you've got 10 hours that you can commit to us a week, we'd love to have you on the team. It's a lot of fun. What can I say? So now I give you James, the Colossus Thompson, and enjoy getting inside this man's head. Peace. This is London Real. I'm Brian Rose. Joining me today is Mr. Peter Irving, who is an MMA fighter and also a journalist for Fighters Only magazine.
Hi.
And our guest today is James the Colossus Thompson.
I like that.
And a Colossus you are.
Oh, you.
He is a heavyweight mixed martial arts fighter who has appeared in such organizations as Elite Extreme Combat, the Pride Fighting Championships in Japan, Cage Rage here in the UK. He has a podcast, which I love to listen to, which is called The Colossal Concerns. You can get that on iTunes. And he blogs like a madman on his website, Colossal Concerns.
I'm surprised you know about the blogging. I don't mention it much.
Really? Anyways, James, welcome.
No, it's great to be here, Brian. It really is. I big fan of the show. It's quite strange, isn't it? Because we're both such big fans of Joe Rogan, and kind of from that, I mean, you've got your. I was thinking about doing a podcast because I enjoy his so much. Obviously, MMA's the one natural kind of leaning to. You started yours, and then we've met from that. You've helped me with mine. It's just a nice
and I mentioned
synergy.
You're the only fighter I think I mentioned my name on Rogan's show. Isn't that weird?
Yes. Now this is the thing. What freaks me out a little bit is that Rogan mentioned I'd contacted you before.
Yeah, that was weird. You contacted me on Facebook, and then I was on Rogan, and then it got brought up. Oh yeah, James Thompson and I was like, the James Thompson, and then boom. I guess you heard us talking about you in the third person.
Course.
Hope you weren't upset.
Not at all. Not at all. I was over the moon.
You know, I've been familiar with your fighting career, but I went and took a look last night over just like all of the highlights, and I Wikipedia'd you. I hope you don't mind.
No.
And I mean, it was just so many different things you've been involved with over the years. And I just wondered if you could give us a little perspective on MMA over the last 10 years. I was actually at the Brawl in the Hall in 2002 at Royal Albert Hall here in London. Was my first MMA competition. It was UFC 38. You started fighting, I think, professionally after that.
Just after, yeah.
What do you think? Well, what's happened in the last 10 years in MMA?
A lot has happened. I mean, Pete will tell you, it's changed so much. And, I mean, when you think back to those UFC, those first ones, it seems like ages ago. No one knew what was going on. The commentators, I love listening to the commentators. Jim Brown, an NFL guy, going on. It's just, nobody had a clue what was going on. It's like the first fight, which I always thought was quite good. It's almost, I think it was a French guy who did Savat. I can't remember.
Gerard Gordeau.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah. Was he in UFC or was he in?
Yeah, no, he was. He
Okay,
was in the
okay.
first one, but he was in.
Was he in Choke
Yes,
as well?
that's right.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a decent fighter. He cracked someone straight away, and like some teeth or bit of nose or something flew off, and everyone kind of went, "Oh, it's real." And the same thing happened in SFL. Obviously, I mean, it was their first show, their first fight. They had a Professor X, and I can't remember the guy's name, and Professor X landed straight away, boom, massive punch, blood everywhere, and it just reminded me of that first UFC. And the cameras flashed to all these Indian Bollywood people, and they all went,
This is.
it is, people, it is.
Was this the fight you were in recently in India when you fought Bob Sapp?
Yes, that was the first one, yes.
And that was like India's first big organization, MMA. And what was that like? I mean, I remember I saw pictures for it, and I was like, interesting. You know, they were putting on quite a show.
It's a hard task what they've taken on there, because when it goes back to like what we were saying, when I was selling tickets and people thought, oh, it's to the death. Oh, do you hit people with steel chairs? And it's like, these are proper questions, legitimate. And you think, if I say, yeah, will you buy a ticket? It gets a bit like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll say cage fighting to explain to people what it is, even though I am a little bit snobby about it.
It's
And
painful, isn't it? When
it
you have to justify what it is, and it's tiresome going over the same old.
It is, and I try not to be snobby about it. I really do try, and it's not so much. I don't think cage fight anything particularly wrong. It is fighting in a cage, but there's so much to it, and I don't. It's not the term. I don't mind. I don't usually like the people saying it.
Yeah, very much.
And where they're coming from with it. Do you know what I mean?
I think the problem with cage fighting as a descriptive term is that the insinuation is that the cage is like a prison rather than a safety device that prevents you from falling through the ropes.
I try not to use it these days, and I just try to use the theory that if they don't know what it is, then they should figure it out. And I try to keep using mixed martial arts. But if my grandma wants to know, then I'll say it to her, and then they're like, oh, maybe that makes me a bad person.
Yeah, you don't want to come across as elitist, though.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's getting that, like I said, there's not so much wrong with it, but there's so much more to it. But if that person doesn't know, you've got to describe it in a way. And when you're trying to sell tickets, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to pretend. I'd be like, oh yeah, come along. It's like,
is this 10 years ago or is this a year ago?
No, this is 10 years ago when I had to sell tickets. That's how I got paid. I was getting £5 on a ticket, and I was just happy to fight. And that's when I really had the love for MMA. Like I know a lot more now, a lot more. But when I went through my bad spell of getting banged out and all these things that were going on, I'm thinking, why is this happening? I know more. But what it was, I lost the love, and that's a very, very, very deep. With anything what you do in life, I think if you lose the love for it, you're going to be on a loser. And I was looking at, I'm better, but I'm worse. Why is it when I didn't know anything, and I was just going in there, and I was looking at my actual technique sometimes with my punches. I actually talked to some guys at London Shoot Fighters about this, and they said, because we were talking about Kimbo, and they said, when you first come into the sport, you're all kind of adrenaline, you don't really know, and you kind of just throw in, and you go, but when you start to learn a little bit, that's when you're trying to do the moves, obviously, which you should do, but there's that period where you're thinking too much. And that's the thing where you overthink. Now, that's my problem, overthinking. You must have experienced.
Yeah, very much. It's a difficult period. Do you feel like you've come through that now?
I do now, but without sounding too hippie-ish, my training's going really, really well, and I'm not fit at the moment. I've lost weight and I feel better, but I'm not fit. But my cardio's better, and it's mentally. Something's clicked in my head, and I'm mentally a lot better.
So when you said you'd lost the love for it during that period, you've reinvigorated it now?
I found it, and do you know what the irony is? I found it. Now I don't need it. That's just life, isn't it?
What do you mean you don't need it? Because you do need it a little bit.
No, I need it because I want to do it.
Right.
But I don't need to do it like I was needing to do it in my head for the 4 years. I gambled and I fought. I'm an addicted gambler. Blackjack was my game. Or my poison, whichever you want to, or both. And it was killing me, and they don't mix. Being an addict at anything and trying to do anything, it just happened that I'm a fighter, and it really doesn't mix.
So an addiction and anything doesn't mix?
Well, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because an addiction is something what takes from you.
But then again, the best people that excel at so many things have addictive behavior.
But that's very true. And it's if you can be addicted to something positive. Now, people will say, if you're addicted to it, it's not positive. Okay, but you can still glean positivity from being very good at something. And you have to be like that to get at the top of sports.
So you couldn't function very well being addicted to playing blackjack and being a fighter? They just don't mix?
Well, not for me, because I literally would... the Ladbrokes. We had a Ladbrokes. So it was very close to here, where London Shoot had their old training ground. I used to get up this time, right? Okay, I've got this fight now. I'm gonna do it, and I never made it past the Ladbrokes. I'll just go in. I've got 50 quid. It'll be 5 minutes. I will start a little bit later, and you make these little excuses. Or I did. I go in and I win or lose. It doesn't matter. And all day, and I'm either going back, getting money, and going to a different one because the day's gone now, or I never made it past there for such a long time. It was such an achievement when I made it past there and did some training. But when I did my training, I wasn't really thinking about my training. And plus, it's not. This is what I would do too. I would have a fight, and for 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes I would train hard, and I really would, because I'm not scared of training hard. I trained really hard, and I'd win or lose that fight. And then, with the money, I would go and gamble, and then I would need more money, and it would continue. So no wonder I lost the love for fighting, because who loves that? Who loves that negative cycle of addiction? And I'm very self-aware, so I was quite different, where I knew I had a problem, but what I would do, I would say to so I admit I'm almost the worst person, because I will say, yeah, I've got a problem, yeah, it's terrible, and I'll talk to you about gambling, all the negative things, and then I'll go out and do it, and then go, yeah, I was terrible.
Must be frustrating for your girlfriend.
What was the appeal? What was it that was making you keep going back? Is it?
I think when I really tried to break down my personality and look at myself. Like I say, I'm quite self-aware, and I try to be. And I think that's what we're kind of missing. People don't seem to be very self-aware anymore. So I really try and look at myself and see the good and bad. And that's a hard thing to do. And when I look, for some reason, I'm destructive, and I'm scared of success. I'm scared of things going right. And I mean, when you really break things down, some people are like that. Now, why is that? I mean, I don't really know. I mean,
it's very common. A success barrier, they call it. People just put things in front of them so they don't achieve what in their frontal cortex they want to achieve. You know?
Yeah, they think that, but it goes somewhat, and I don't know if that's something to do with my family. My dad was an alcoholic, and he was a gambler, and in prison and all that. I mean, I never met him, so and I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that's a problem. You've got to know what you're like in order to get past that problem. So that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I'm like this. I do want to be successful.
But you have been successful. I mean, you fought in some very top organizations. You fought in Japan in the early days, so you obviously were doing something right back then.
Yeah, I've got a good heart. I'm a tough guy. I'm a tough fighter. I'm a big guy. I realised that I didn't have much in the way of, I've just kind of fell into it, and I was like, okay, let's have a go at this.
How did they find you? How did Pride find you, and how did you get that invitation?
I started in a. I went to a show. I saw it, and I had done nothing before. No MMA, no boxing, no combat. But I was just a big guy who fought on the door and did lots of like debt collecting and shit like that. So I thought, I saw it, MMA, and I watched Don Fry, and I thought, I'm going to do it. I'd never seen anything like it, and I just knew I was going to do it. It was very strange. I watched loads of tapes, all these VHS clunky things, and I was loving it. I was like, what is this? And I could see it straight away that you needed all of it. Not just jiu-jitsu. I could see that. I thought, yeah, you need all of it. So,
you have a famous quote that said you learn how to fight from DVDs.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing, what I've realised too. The guy who did that was taking the piss out of me in a jokey way. And it was funny, because I remember laughing at it, and I remember showing my girlfriend it, and I remember saying, oh, look at this. She was rolling around laughing. And I was like, yeah, and I was thinking, yeah, it is funny. So I contacted him, and I said, oh, I saw your video, fair play. Oh, that was funny, how you kind of cut it together. And from that, and Boondock was, from that, we started talking, and then he started doing my fan club. So it just shows you by not taking yourself too seriously. Now I take fighting seriously and ego, I've got an ego and all them things which you need, but by just, that is funny. My Alexander Emelianenko thing with the two contrasts, where it's funny. Do you know, there's no two ways about it. Now, right after the fight, he would have gone up to me and laughed at me. I would have been, because it just happened. But when I look back, that's funny. That's why I did the video, the YouTube video, explaining what happened.
You did that recently. You dropped that video, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can you explain what happened? What was it? At Pride, when you, was it Pride 11 or something? No, I forgot which number it was.
That's too early.
It was too early. It was 38 maybe. So you fought Alexander Emelianenko, which is Fedor's brother.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
Is it his full brother or half brother or something? Who knows?
Oh,
but that was your
sure.
first Pride fight. Can you explain to people what happened and what happened?
Well, I mean, I was, I'd been fighting in like say, selling tickets and copying tickets and selling tickets and all like just all things like that, and little shows and.
It's in the UK.
Yeah, and it had such a big kind of following in the. It's only like 2,000, 3,000, but you know, everyone's supporting me, and I left. I beat Dan Severn, and they announced that I got told just before that I'd be going to Pride, and they weren't doing any more shows. So from that, I went straight to Pride, and I just thought that's the way it was, because that, you know, you just watch Pride. Okay, go to Pride now. Right, okay. So when I went there, I was like, Jesus, right, this is Pride.
Well, I mean, how many people were in the arena?
I think they always say it was a little bit more. So yeah, it was 50. So I'd say probably about 35,000. And I remember, I think it was this fight. I came out of it might not be that fight, it might be the next one, but I remember like going up an elevator and smoke and all the Japanese are very. It's different.
It's hard to imagine the scale, even, because I don't know if I've ever been even in an arena that holds that many people. And then I've fought in arenas of maybe 4,000 people max. You know, and then that's enough to have that amount of people looking at you. It's quite.
Is it quite a buzz?
It's a buzz, but it takes a while to get used to that amount of people looking at you. So I think it's probably hard for people who've never fought or on performers or anything like that really to appreciate what you were experiencing at that point.
Is it an adrenaline dump, or is it not that simple?
I think there's a lot of things to it. What I tried to take from it very early on was, on my first fight, I thought, like, okay, what the fuck am I doing? Because I went there and they were setting it up, and I remember my girlfriend at the time was like, "Ooh, wow, it's quite big, isn't it? Wow." And I thought, fucking yeah, it is. Wow. And I imagined all the people, and I think, what am I doing? I was there so early. I was just in the locker room thinking, oh,
How old are you?
I'm 23.
23. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just all these things what everyone goes through. What you realise now, well, pretty much everyone goes. Everyone has a different way of coping, but everyone kind of goes through these experiences. And once you realise that really helps. I said in one of my blogs, Sean Tompkins told me, "Are you nervous?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm nervous, yeah." And he goes, "Good." And I thought, "Well, what do you mean good?" He said, "Well, your body's getting ready to fight. Your nerves are up, you're thinking that's what it's meant to be like." Now, when you look at it that way, oh, yeah, my body's getting ready. You turn it, instead of a negative, it's suddenly, and I've fought enough at that time to think, yeah, my body is getting ready for it. You know, okay, and it's releasing yourself from the pressure of, I've got to do this, because that just makes you so tense and tight, which is the opposite to what you want to be. Like when I'm there, going like that, and I explain it in my YouTube. I've done 3 videos so far. Check them out, Colossus Collective, on that's my YouTube channel. Got 2 more videos, what I'm doing this week. That's the opposite to what you're meant to be like. Image like that. And Fedor, who doesn't look at you in the eyes, is like that because they've got that thing of when you look at someone in the eyes in that situation, you naturally start tensing and posturing and that. They got it figured out, and I looked into that, and they do they're hitting the tired, to keep the muscles. There's something else they do in Russia, specifically something to do with waves. I'm not going to go into that because I'm murdering it already.
Do you mimic that in your fights now? Do you try not to make eye contact? Do you try to?
No. I still, because this is what I listen to what they say, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Which I'm getting better at. But I still very much think I do the banging the hands together, which I did from the start because I realised I didn't have much. I was this big guy, and I like wrestling. I like the Ultimate Warrior when I was a kid. Like, that's why I wanted to be a wrestler. And I tried wrestling, but it didn't do it for me. I knew I was going to win, and I did it. It was hard. It was very hard, but I didn't get no buzz. When they put my hand up, I thought, well, yeah, I knew. And afterwards, so I went for a drink, and I was like, and then I found the UFC about 6 months later, or MMA, I should say, 6 months later. What was the question?
So you rushed Alexander. The Japanese called it the gong and dash style.
Yeah,
is that gong for the bell,
yes,
and then you dash?
Right, yeah.
So you would literally sprint across the arena
Yes.
into a guy who's, these guys can fight. I mean, this isn't,
Yeah.
and so that's what you did with him.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the funny thing is, when I look back, I was so in over my head. It was unbelievable. I was almost so much in over my head. If I realised how in over my head, I probably wouldn't do it. But I was like, right, okay. I remember watching a bit of tape on him. I'm thinking, right, okay, that's it, right, yeah. I'm gonna just think, because even though I haven't got the biggest ego when it comes to fighting or anything like that, I still remember doing jiu-jitsu for about 6 weeks and hitting the pads, and we used to do it all in one class. It wasn't even like properly, so we're doing this, and I remember thinking, I'm not that far. I remember watching Nog fight, Nogueira, and I'm thinking, I'm not too far away. And this was after a month, and I'm miles away. It's so funny when I look back how far back, but
that's a good thing, right?
In a way, this is what I'm trying to figure out. It helped me because I didn't realise. Everyone else realised, and that's what helped me when I did the gong and dash, because it was like, right, I'm just going to run at them, and I really do run at them. When I started getting caught with it, and when people started working it out, not like it's that hard to work out, when that happened, I started to date myself, and should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? The Japanese want me to do it, but I don't really want to do it. And it going like that, and that when I ran, I kind of half ran, and then I was getting caught, and then it's like, oh, and then you're in the fight, and it's whatever happens. But yeah, it was. So I think I think being honest with yourself is the key, because now I've always been honest with myself, but brutally honest. Like I mentioned before, that's the key for me, because I'm not scared of anything now. I've lost. That don't mean I'm not trying to make out I'm some kind of like fearless, but I am fearless, and I'm not scared to say. See how that worked? I'm not scared. I'm not scared to say I'm not fearless. Fucking hell. But I'm not, because I'm gonna train. I'm enjoying training. I'm gonna try and learn as much as I can. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna. I put a post. I watched Ensign Hanoi on the Joe Rogan.
Yeah, it was a great
podcast.
interview.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
That changed. That listening to that changed me as an MMA fighter. I've done a blog about it. My missus is editing it at the moment.
Did you ever meet Ensign when you were in
No,
Pride?
I didn't. And to be honest, I watched him fight, and I was like, wow. But he kind of, like I say, I just kind of threw myself in it, and then I just missed him. So I wasn't 100%.
Ensign's a Japanese-American guy that was born in Hawaii but went to fight in Pride, and he's very famous for putting it all on the line, and in his mind he prepares to die before he fights. Yes. He writes letters to all of his family saying goodbye to them.
Really?
And then burns
That's
them
intense.
after the fight.
Yeah,
Anyways,
exactly. Now, I would, at first I thought, he says he won't tap. He'd rather, and I would say, well, that's ego, and that's the opposite. Ego's important, but I don't agree with that. You need to tap. If you get caught in a fight, what's the point of breaking your arm and then what's the point? You know, there is no point. But then, from listening to him and from what I'm experiencing myself, trying to figure it out to a certain degree, I've realised that by doing that, he actually makes him stronger, because he's not scared of anything. He doesn't want his arm to be broken, but he's, like he said in the interview, he's concentrating on getting out of the move. And it's more than just your body, it's about your spirit. Now, if you watch his fight with Igor Vogchelchin, all his fights, he puts everything in there and he's not afraid. And that fear is what I try to harness, but at the same time don't let you hold it back, which is hard. So I put a post out and I wrote my blog and I said I will never tap again in a fight. Now, wow. I wrote that and I mean it, but I'm very conscious that I'm not in a heel hook at the moment.
Yeah.
So maybe I will. And if I have to write another blog saying, oh shit, and I'll explain why, but I'm not afraid.
Pete, I got to get your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the I will never tap?
Well, I mean, I've let my arm break before to not lose.
Did you win that fight?
No, that was the thing. I got to the end, lost the decision, and went, maybe that wasn't worth it. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, sorry to interrupt. Go on. Sorry.
I think the thing is that when people say about like feeling fear, you don't necessarily feel the physical fear. You know, it's the fear of losing is much worse.
Yes.
And sometimes people ask me like, you know, like, so, do you feel scared? And I say, yeah, sure, I feel scared. And they feel better because they're reassured that, you must be a normal guy. And I think, but they don't really realize what the source of my fear is. It's nothing physical, because you wouldn't even get through a training session if you were scared of getting hurt. No. You'd have to quit.
And the more you think about it, the more likely you are to get hurt.
Quite.
So the fear for you is fear of losing.
That's sorry to interrupt.
You
asked Pete a question. I'll just jump in there and answer that for.
Do you think you're the guest? No.
But that's exactly what I say and have said forever. I'm not scared of the physical pain. I'm scared, and that's we never talked about this before, but that's exactly what I said. And that is what most fighters, or any half-decent fighter, will say. It's the embarrassment, or what they see as embarrassment, or pride, or ego, of all those things. Now, there's no right or wrong about tapping. I don't think, because I say I won't tap, like I say, I might do, but I don't think I will. But I'm not in that situation, so we'll see. And I'm willing to put it out there and say, and I put it out there, not so people say, oh, James Thompson, what a warrior, he won't do this. I put it out there because what I'm finding is things I want to achieve, I write down. When I do my videos, that's all off the top of my head to a point, but I write it down, and I write it down, I don't even look at it again sometimes, I just do it. But when I write it down, it's like I'm writing it into my head, as strange as that sounds, I remember it, and that's what I'm trying to do with things I want to achieve. When I write it down, I'm making a conscious effort to achieve that. So that's what I did, and I'm interested in hearing people's thoughts as well. And like you say, people say, oh well, people who have to feed a family and do this and that's their livelihood, it's not smart. And I would agree. I say, yeah, maybe they shouldn't, maybe they should, but it's a very personal decision, and there's no right and wrong, and it's what's right for you. Now, that is what's right for me.
So you're saying that is, and then you think if you say I'm never going to tap, you might just hold yourself to that higher standard?
Well, I think it's deeper, as in, I'm trying not to sound like a hippie, but I really do believe that it's a deeper thing, and I believe it's right for me now, where I am in my career. Maybe if I fought this at the start of my career, I didn't know jiu-jitsu very well, and I'm getting my arms, but that's the other thing. Ensign do you think he would gamble on that, thinking his life's on the line? He'd take it as frivolously to go to Ladbrokes and not make it to training? No. He'll be going because he really believes, even though he might not die, he's prepared to. See, that's the other thing. Someone said on a message board, oh, he's over dramatic. The chances of him dying are this and that. I 100% agree. But he's fighting like he might, and that's the difference. He don't have to die.
Okay.
You know, he's fighting. He won't tap. So if the guy holds it, he could tap. It's not about the actual reality, even though he don't get much more than a Pride MMA with a guy who outweighs you, like Ensign. He doesn't get much more than that, but he's prepared for, like say, with the letters. Now, he stopped fighting because he said he was just too traumatic. Now, I almost think, I wonder if he went too deep, like writing the letters. That must put such a pressure on you that he didn't want. I mean, it turned into a, you know, his brain was swelled after the Igor Venture fight. All them,
he had some injuries. Big ones.
Big ones. It must have been like every time. But, you know, not just a fight, but he's prevented. So
maybe that is too much.
Yeah, maybe
it's like what you were saying before, where you were more, where you felt you had a period where you were more effective when you just only knew how to do one thing. You know, maybe not being completely aware of everything is a little bit necessary. Probably if you reviewed, you know, road traffic accident statistics every time you were about to get in your car, you'd drive with a bit more trepidation. Or
that's a very good point.
Maybe it's a little bit too much to think about.
Yeah, maybe so. James, you know, I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at your left ear, and I can't stop looking at it. And I was wondering if you could put it so the camera can see it. What happened to that ear? Can you tell us?
Oh, well, I mean, that happened for the Kimbo fight. I was training at London Shoot.
What year is this? 09, 07?
No, I don't know. It was like 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I was training. I was actually going to do gladiators, and I was actually picked to do gladiators.
What, the show in the States?
No.
No, it was a UK promotion.
Funny enough, I went to the States at Randy Couture's, and Gina Carano went for the auditions, and I put my everything forward for that, but I didn't have a visa, so it never happened. I came back, I lost a fight, I came back, and then the English one was coming up, so I applied for that, got in, got accepted, everything was great. That was all, you know, did the little circuits and things, and all good. And I got on there, I got in the hotel, I was doing promos for it, doing the pictures, staying with all the other gladiators. They whitened my teeth and give me a spray tan and give me a sparkly costume with silver boots.
They actually whiten your teeth?
Yeah, no.
Okay, it's a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, it hurts. Oh, I should have seen it coming.
We got from Kimbo Slice to Gladiator somehow. But so you didn't go on the UK Gladiator? Or?
No, I didn't, because I got the Kimbo Slice fight.
So this was a fight on CBS television.
Exactly.
So it was one of the early fights that was on free television.
Well, I got a call, and I just lost to Brett Rogers. He just knocked me out. And I've been at Extreme Couture for that. Now, they said, my agent said to me, we've got a fight. I said, oh, great. Well, I'm doing gladiators at the moment. And he said, oh, what are you? You know. I said, listen, they got lovely silver boots. I got spray tan. They just done my teeth. No, and my agent Ken Pavey, he told me about it. Now, I won't go into that because I'll go off track. But I'm writing about it in my book.
Okay.
So, yeah. The whole thing about the gladiators and all that. So I basically thought, well, no, I'm a fighter. You don't get an opportunity. Now, this is why I appreciate people might not like me, because I'm not the best fighter. I'm not the most talented. I'm a big, scary, guy who puts on a show. And I've just come off a knockout loss, and I've got the Kimbo Slice fight, going to be one of the biggest fights. Well, it was the most watched fight ever. That's not particularly fair.
Right.
But probably someone like you, Pete, someone who's such a tough fighter, but never really got the recognition he deserves.
Yeah, but I haven't been in with the same quality though. I mean, it was like you were talking about in the introduction. I did the same. I reviewed your record, and I followed your career like everybody in UK MMA. But looking back, I realised, man, there's no filler on this. There was like 4 fights at the start of UK domestic opponents, and then it's a who's who. The only guys that you fought who weren't like top 10, like Overeem and guys like that. The guys who were like physical giants like
Giant
Silva or Pudzianowski. I don't know if that's a sore subject.
No,
We'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that.
Yeah, it's a real who's who. It was quite a.
Plus, it's not your job. It's your job to take the fight if it's offered to you. Not,
Yeah.
I mean, did you get a lot of hate when you were offered and accepted the Kimbo fight?
I was, I think, aware. No, it's not so much I got hate. I was just aware, and like I say, to a sense, I see why. Because me and Pete are different. Now, they will bring me in because I'm big, I'm scary. I've had a few decent wins over a few people, but I'm beatable. The chin, the thing, all that. So I'm beatable. So for Thompson in there against a strong man, he's a good stepping stone. For him in against Kimbo, whereas Pete.
So that can work to your advantage. You're saying
it can. I mean, I appreciate it. Who gets
never
main
thought of it that
events?
way.
Who get main events fights? So I see that straight away. Now with Pete, he's a tough, top guy. That what do they have to win by putting Pete in there against someone like that?
The dynamics are very different in
Yes.
sort of like lightweight and welterweight fighting and heavyweight fighting.
True.
I think the heavyweight division is an exception to a lot of rules in MMA, where obviously with the knockout potential of two huge guys, the weight disparity is potentially bigger in that division. Maybe there could be a call for a super heavyweight division if there was enough bodies there. But you can sometimes see a real pronounced difference. With like take a Randy Couture versus a Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but James is saying more that he's bought in as a showman a lot of times as much as a fighter. Is that what you're saying?
100%.
But I think that's intrinsically connected to the size of heavyweight fighters.
Okay.
I mean, I think the spectacle of heavyweight fighting is kind of lost on TV to an extent.
Yeah.
You don't get the same sense of it. But when you see a heavyweight fight live, you're really struck by the it sounds stupid to say the size of the guy, but there's something else, isn't there? There's like an electricity about the tension of a heavyweight fight, and when you're aware of how much bigger these men really are, it makes it a much greater spectacle.
And it's very high stakes. Yeah, I mean, I think if they ran the stats on the heavyweights, and you don't see these 3-round grind out wins in heavyweights. I mean, the average length of a heavyweight, I think they ran the numbers recently, and it was something like half that of like a welterweight fight, because there is knockout power there all the time. There's danger like all the time.
See, I like watching the smaller guys because
Me too.
I just see them and I'm thinking, Jesus, they don't get tired
So fast.
and they're so fast, and they're doing like John Dodson and
I used to love the WEC, which is all the lighter weight classes before they got merged with the UFC. And I love the guys at 55, 45, 35.
But again, it comes back to education of the fans, and when they're watching it and they don't really know, everything's more exciting. First of all, when you know someone fighting, there's a big difference if you watch me now after, and vice versa, after knowing it. I'd be like, come on, Pete, because you've got that little bit more of a bond. So there's that, which is different. And then, what am I talking about?
What was he talking about?
Oh no, it's alright if I forget.
No, you're saying that since you have a whole history of fighting, that when you come to fight, you bring a lot of emotions to the table, a lot of people that have been vested with you over the years? You bring a presence? Is that why you get invited to fight Kimbo?
This is what happens when you get hit in the head. I don't know if you suffer the same thing. I can be talking, and it's really, really embarrassing, especially if I've had a few drinks. I can be talking, and I can get very in depth with people. And then all of a sudden,
all right, then I'm going to bring you back to Kimbo, and he's only had a few drinks of water, and he's still like this.
Oh, he didn't get any alpha brain.
Oh yeah. We'll get some after this.
Yeah.
That's why. So Kimbo, you were offered the fight after a loss, and for people that don't know about Kimbo Slice, he was Scott Coker called him the internet sensation, which I think is a horrible phrase, but a true phrase, because he built himself up off millions and millions of watches on YouTube with these backyard brawls, bare knuckle brawls that were pretty vicious, and they built him up and put him on television. And I mean, you said that was the most watched fight of all time.
At one point.
I mean, it was massive as far as the size.
Now, the thing is with Kimbo, whoever was marketing him, I was like, Jesus, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I go, to a barbecue where a couple of fat kids give him a few slaps. Get it on YouTube, first million, and he comes in, his first fight, Ray Mercer or someone like that, I think he got 60 to 80,000 for his first fight. Now, after that, he was getting sponsorship, and I think fair play to him. He's using, like I did with the Gong and Dash.
Yeah.
I didn't have much, but I used what I had. So anyone who does that, Kimbo used what he has. You know, good striking. He was a solid guy, tough guy, and he used what he had. Now, EliteXC put all their eggs in one basket, all their eggs in one basket, because it takes time to learn. This is what Pudzianowski didn't really realise, and I knew he wouldn't realise because I'd been through what he'd been through, and that was bigger is not necessarily better depending on your frame. So when you start loading on all that muscle and you're like that, it's hard work, especially when you're doing 2-3 rounds of MMA. And you might think, right, it doesn't translate. I mean, you do functional strength exercises and get strong, you know, great, but bodybuilding training does not translate to MMA.
Did that take you a while to realize that?
Yes, it did, because I didn't do bodybuilding like do the shows, but it was always, I did definitely have bigorexia, so it was definitely and when I realised,
What's
I started
bigorexia for people that don't know?
I think it's opposite to anorexia, where you're looking at yourself and you never feel big enough, and I'd say practically all bodybuilders have it. All that you, I like bodybuilding, and well, I don't like it, but I respect it because it's hard in a different way. But you've almost got to be ill to do it. You've got to be I don't want to say self-obsessed in a like literally, but you have to be so, which like any sport, I suppose, but bodybuilding really is about what you look like.
It's because it's vanity. I mean,
Well,
it's an image at the end of the day, I guess, as opposed to a fight.
Yes.
But it still takes, obviously tremendous commitment.
It really does.
So you basically were in this Kimbo fight. They had put all their eggs behind Kimbo because Kimbo was going to be the success of the organization, really.
That's it.
And then you're brought in. Do they treat you like you're the stepchild?
They ignored me. Like, well, I did a phone call, conference call, and I kind of forgot I was on there. I was kind of just listening, and no one really said direct any questions towards me. And someone said to Gary Shaw, that fat slug of a man, he said, what would you do if Thompson won? And he said, I'd hang myself, and then laughed. And I thought, fucking hell.
This is the CEO of the company
Yeah,
at the time.
and I thought,
Coker.
wow.
Jesus. All right.
You'd hang yourself.
But when you actually got to the competition, they can't really stack it against you. But the media is obviously for him.
This is what I found out through that fight. The judges, he had it he was a boxing promoter, Gary Shaw.
Okay.
Now he put the fight in New Jersey because that's where he was a boxing promoter. So he had friends there. Now the judges, he had like 2 judges, and if you watch the fight, the second round is all me. I
seem to recall there was like an unprecedented number of unreturned strikes given. I think there was questions asked afterwards, wasn't there? There was like 42 unanswered strikes.
The stats were in question?
Yeah. Well, that the referee allowed.
The first round was 10-9. Everyone did 10-9 to me. The second round gave it 10-8 to me because, like you say, with the stats and that. One judge, his friend who lived down the road from him, who he put in, did it 8-10 to him, which is unbelievable. So if unbelievable.
Were you grounding and pounding him on that?
I did trap. Now I didn't have much on my elbows. In all honesty, there wasn't much there to him. And if I look back, people say, "Oh, they should stop the fight," and I say, "Well, yeah, I see why they said, but there wasn't much on my shots. In all honesty." And he came back, and when they stopped the fight, he bust my ear and he had me on the ropes.
Right.
I didn't have much left, but then he didn't have much left, and that's the fight. That's what you see.
So the third round, you're both very, very tired. You come in, your ear is all cauliflowered up. Was that a training injury?
Well, it was, and I was getting it drained. Now, like I mentioned before, London Shoot, great team. Now, this is what they said to me. I said, it came up in training. I said, should I drain my ear? And they said, no, it could get infected. Now, the chance that it can get infected, the chances of it getting infected are very small, very, very small. But they say, listen, there's no point taking the chance of it getting affected, because if he bursts it, they burst it. It's not going in your eyes. They won't stop the fight. And that's exactly what they did. Stop the fight because it was an excuse. Now, the referee, Dan Blockhead, whatever he's called.
Mergliata.
Yeah. He it wasn't fixed. I don't think they paid him any money, not that. But what I believe, they were screaming, like all through the fight they were screaming, stand up, stand up, stand them up, stand them up. I got to side control, I just got there, they stood the fight up. I took another load of whack. That can change the whole course of a fight, just that. And I took another load of whacks before I got him on the floor again. So I think subconsciously, all them people shout, well, especially the CEO who just said he'd hang himself if he'd win, all that kind of pressure mounts up.
So your ear busted. So Kimbo sliced your ear busted. There's blood everywhere, and you think Mergliata just freaked out?
Yeah,
and
I mean, if you look at my eyes, he caught me, and I will tell you honestly, he caught me, and I was on my last legs. I was, and he might have knocked me out. I don't know. And that's what annoys me, because that's what a fight is. He might have knocked me out.
Yeah, but you weren't out. I watched it last night.
I wasn't out. No. And Kimbo was dead in the water as well.
Yeah.
One takedown with 2 rounds up. I don't know. Nobody knows. And he took it away. So
you slapped Mergliata.
Yeah. And
did you get fined for that?
No, but he said
it's very rude.
Yeah, it was a little bit, I went to talk to him afterwards to apologise with an axe, but I couldn't find him. He said to me, which annoyed me as well, he said, I stopped the fight, I'm not pressing charges, but I'm not going to put a complaint in because I think James thought I was Kimbo. That pissed me off so much more. That's so annoying. I didn't think you were, I thought you were a black man with a beard. Do you know what I mean?
Pete, what are your thoughts on that stoppage?
Stoppages in general, I appreciate the refereeing's a hard job. I've done it. Yes. I've refereed a couple of bouts in it, and it is more difficult when you're there. But I think it's easy for referees to get themselves off the hook by saying, "Oh, fighter safety is my priority." But your well-being in that moment is one thing, but losing a fight afterwards, when you take that away from somebody that sometimes you just want to know. A lot of the times I would rather be knocked out than be denied the chance to get to the end of the fight that I would have won.
100%.
And that effect, when that's happened to me, it's affected my well-being much more negatively perhaps than a knockout might have.
Right, and we've seen so many fights like Frankie Edgar and a bunch of in the last few UFCs or say 6 months or 12 months where it's so close, and then the comeback that happens, it's just And then you're talking fighters' careers at this point. With the UFC, a couple of losses, 3, and you're gone.
The stakes are very high.
Did that decision affect your career now that you look at it in the long run?
So I started gambling after that. I got home. I had money. London Shoot did a barbecue for me. I didn't turn up. I didn't call them. I was depressed. I was like, this is my chance with Gladiators. Had phoned that off, and that I had a sponsorship deal waiting for me at the time. I think it was $5,000 every month for supplements, and just waiting as soon as I won. And I felt sorry for myself. Now, he made the wrong decision and blah blah blah, but then I made the wrong decision. I took the decision he took, and I went the wrong way. It wasn't his fault. And that's what I mean. That depends what you do in that. And I did the right. I felt sorry for myself. I started gambling. My personality is that much that from there, it's been 4 years of murder, absolute murder. And not just for me, for my missus, what I put her through, all until recently. I mean, I gambled pretty recently and lost the rest of my money, and I was living in the gym, which is freezing cold with a mattress, and that's all I had. And I thought, I was 145 kilos of like bad weight, fat, and I thought, right, you're that close to being a loser. You don't drive, you don't got a missus, you don't have a house, you don't have any money, you don't want to fight. Now what? You got a blog, you like your blog, and that's the only positive thing I did in that time was my blog. So that made me look at myself. Why am I here? How have I got here? What do I need to do to change it? And that is what I've done. I've took the shit, what I had, which I created, which is no one's fault but my own, and I'm turning it into gold. I am the alchemist. Except I do it with shit.
I'm tweeting that quote. Jesus Christ, James.
Was there a catalyst, or did you just hit a point where you thought enough's enough, or was there something?
Well, they say everyone hits a low point, the low, and I thought my low point was, and it wasn't. I wasn't when I was in London. I wasn't with my girlfriend. I'd just lost a fight, which I'd trained for very hard. I got in very good shape, and I'd lost, and then I'd gone out, gambled a lot of money, lost that, come back like that. And I was on the way back, I was thinking about killing myself, throwing myself in front of the tube now. Would I have done it? Well, I didn't. I didn't kill myself. But, the fact that you're thinking like that, and I went home and I saw a knife and I got the knife and I went upstairs to the bathroom and I ran a bath and I thought, no, I didn't do it. I didn't. But the fact that I'm thinking that is very unhealthy. Now I thought that was my low point. Obviously it wasn't. My low point was, see, I started to, because I'm aware, I started to hate myself. Because I could talk about gambling, because I could say, yeah, I got a ball, but I didn't want to talk to people, I didn't want to talk to my mom, because I didn't like the person I'd become, because I was full of shit. Because I got tattoos of, the Serenity Prayer. I got the date of my last time I gambled on it. And that gave me great strength. But then I gambled, so then I thought, well, I can cover it up, I can do that, but then I thought, well, I can't really do it, I've got to be honest, so I crossed it out, and I crossed it out again, and I've just had it altered to a date what's not even here yet, and that gave me, and it is like, my mates, like, you're going to run out of the room, and it is funny, and it is that, but at the same time, it's my life, and it's fuck ups what I've done, but all I can do is learn from them, and that's why I wouldn't change anything, because I'm in a place now where things are happening, and they're happening because I'm deciding to make them happen. I'm creating my own reality. My reality at one point was living in a freezing cold gym, not training, not with nothing, and now my reality, in a very short space of time, I'm doing so many things, so many positive things which I like doing, and I can feel I'm getting somewhere because people can feel it off me. Because I'm being honest. Because I've been to that place, I've been honest, I've gone, okay, and that's given me great strength because I've looked at myself, and it's hard to do. It's not an easy thing to do, to be really, and that's what I'm still trying to do now. Okay, just keep being honest, and that's why I'm on message boards like MMA TV and the Rogan board more, because I never used to go on because my Spanish so god awful, but I'm on there now because I'm not scared. I'm not. I'll just say it as it is, and anyone can ask me anything, and I'll answer it. Anyone can ask me any question, and I will no problem with it at all. I keep going on about it.
I think the Yanks don't understand your personality sometimes. I saw the MMA fighting guys, they posted one of your videos, and you were talking about the things you hate in MMA. I think it was like the Americans yelling USA and like a bunch of things. But I mean, you have a funny way of coming off as I'm the big lug, but you're actually not the big lug. You're actually like, you got a crazy sense of humor, and you got all these things going on in your mind. But do you use that to your advantage?
Yeah, I don't mind people thinking that at all, because this is what I mean, because that is part of me. I am a big, clumsy guy who gets loads of things wrong and like does some ridiculously stupid things. There's just no two ways of it. I do, like my friends will tell you, they constantly, cause I do loads of like, and I see my mum in me like that, because my mum gets the left and right wrong, and she makes constant mistakes and things like that, and I take the mickey out of, and I was, oh god, mum. But also, I that's one side of me, and the other side is that even though I'm not very intelligent with some things when it comes to maths and language, and I'm not good at them things, but I am very aware of what I am good at, and I'm good with people. I'm good at knowing when I'm being bullshitted. I'm good at knowing when someone's got my best interests at heart. I'm good at that. So
you say you can't spell and your language skills are not great, but I was really surprised by how well you write when I got directed to your blog for the first time. I couldn't believe it was the same guy. I thought, wow, you know. And then, that came off wrong. But when I saw your videos and stuff like that, you can tell that you've got.
That's nice of you to say. No, I don't think that's a bad thing to say. But you see, spelling and writing, I think, are two different. I get my blog edited. Like if I put my blog out there after I edited it, it'd be. I mean, it's the same words, but without full stops and commas and. You know, I'm dyslexic. I'm severely dyslexic, so I get a lot of the words in the right place, and a lot of the words there, but all mixed up.
Gotcha.
Do you know? So, and that's just, I don't know. You know, my mum took me for tests when I was 7, and they were like, "Yep, he's dyslexic." And I'm very strange where they gave me something to pick up, and I picked it up with my left hand. I'm very left-handed in some ways, but I use my right hand. I don't know, I'm a fuck up, but...
So what is the point? Why do you do the blog? And why are you making the videos that right now? And what you're writing a book? Yeah. I mean, like, and you know, what's the future for you in your mind? Like, and why do you do those things?
Because I enjoy them. I really enjoy them, and I've got so many things what are coming to me, and it's very strange. And I say to my missus, it's strange what's happening, but I'm loving it. And it's because I'm opening up. When I talk to people, I've got so many ideas. What I'm like, I've got too many ideas. Ideas for apps, this herb, what I found, the thing what I've saying about the martial arts, which I'm going to do with road, all these things, and it's overwhelming. And I'm like, oh my God, so many things. I concentrate on this and on that, and I've gone from nothing to unbelievable amount. But again, I'm thinking it's okay. Don't be scared. Just keep on. Take every day, keep training, keep doing what you do, and it'll all work out as long as I keep being honest with myself. Now, the blog is the other thing I started, and I did my blog, and I was in a very bad place when I started it, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed thinking and writing and getting my opinions, and I enjoy it. I'm good at it. I'm good at writing. I'm a good writer. I get extra credit because of the way I look, and then people listened, and it's all going great. So that's good.
Do you have to fight again to feel good about yourself?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think I have to, because it's something it's a journey which I haven't completed yet. I see it now for what it is, because what I'm doing is looking at the ego side of it. Now, traditional martial arts, I haven't got much time for. I always think there's pieces you can take out of everything, but I'm looking at traditional martial arts in a little bit of a different way. Not like I'm not going to start coming in with Steven Seagal in my corner and start, I'm not going to start doing all that. But I'm looking at things in a little bit, like I said with Ensign. Hopefully I'm gonna make the effort, if you'll have me, to go and train, because I think he can help me not only in my fighting but as a person. And that's why MMA, and that's why I love MMA, because it's mind, body, and it's all of them. It's not one thing. You can think whatever you want and be open-minded, but if you don't know how to do it, you're going to get filled in. You've got to have the contrast of mind and body, and which is more important. I don't know. I think they're both massively important. But
so with your fighting, what do you want to accomplish?
Now,
What's that? You said I want to fight again, but what will make the ego feel better, or what do you think you want to get?
well, first
done?
of all, I've got see. This is like what make. I've not got to fight for ego. So what am I fighting for then? Well, I'm fighting for. Cause I don't think I've given myself the best chance. I haven't. I've suddenly realised that you create your own destiny. Whatever I want, I can achieve. Now, going to The Secret and all that. I like The Secret to a certain extent, like the auto-suggestion and the all that side of it. But I'm not like a hippie. But
The Secret is what? Sorry, is that Tony
It's,
Robbins?
no, it's a book and a movie that came out that basically says if you visualize something in your brain, then it will happen.
But that's
I'm
very
paraphrasing
true.
it.
No, that's good. But what they mixed out of it is that they took The Secret is basically a revamped version of Think and Grow Rich, a book by Napoleon Hill, which was written in the 1920s. Now,
Yeah, it's an old book, yeah.
yeah, it is. It's a revised copy, which I recommend everyone to get. Now, that is The Secret, except the difference is, you don't just think it and it appears, because things don't just think and you wake up and they appear, and the more you think about them, they happen. You have to do things. You have to do, but no one wants to know about that, do they? No one wants to actually, it doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen. And Think and Grow Rich says, you get your goal, and then you get to how you're going to get it. And you think about that every night, which goes to auto-suggestion. Now he went round with, for 20 years before he wrote that book, and he went a lot of successful people. So I think 20 years to put into it, that's his life work. He picked up some decent, and it goes quite off scale in some way, but I'm seeing a lot of that is
With yourself.
with myself, and a little bit what I'm experiencing at the moment. So I've read it twice, but I'm going to read it again with kind of fresh eyes.
I think you just need a challenge. I think everyone needs a challenge. I mean, I train with Pete, and I see Pete, and I think you always like when you have a fight on the horizon, right?
Sure, yeah.
Just like I always like when I got a show on the horizon that I'm excited about, and I think that's just what makes us men, right?
Well,
or people.
Sure. People. Because what else is it about? Because I this guy on my Facebook, I've always said he's quite depressed. I would put something on there which was quite kind of deep, which just put one day, and he kind of agreed with what I said, and he said, yeah, what's the point of anything? I thought, that's why you're depressed, because I ain't got the answer. You can say, what's the point of this, what's the point of that, what's the point of us talking now, but I know I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
And that's
tricky.
enough.
Yeah, no, that's good that you do. That's nihilism, and I've been there before, and it's a really hard hole to get out of. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like you say, it's a downward spiral.
And it's really, and you can't explain your way out of it, because
No.
what do you say to the guy? No. But once you're there, it's hard.
Like we said at the start of the podcast, like, why does it matter? I like asking questions. What about this? What about that? Is that a conspiracy? Is that or that? Oh, what are the? I like it all. I don't need to know the answer. I'm getting so much enjoyment out of looking for the answer. And every time you open the door and get an answer, there's a million doors. That's fun. That's why I don't get frustrated at. Oh, I don't now. I don't get frustrated at. I like it. Enjoy the journey, because nobody knows what the fuck's going on. And the more you look into it, the more you see that.
My answer to that nihilist is why does it matter anyways? And it doesn't. So let's do it.
Yeah, of course it don't matter. Like I heard Rogan talking to one of his, I think it was Brian Callen, and Brian Callen was, and we all fall into the trap. And he was going on about jiu-jitsu, what's this? You fall into that in lots of different extremes sometimes. What's the point of this? I'm only this, and does it matter if you? And then Rogan said, "Oh, stop what you. I don't like to do it, and I do it. Simple. That's enough for me."
Fair enough. I got to ask you about a few things before we run out of time. Bob Sapp, you fought him in India last year, right? I think you've got a blog coming out soon about Bob, or maybe you have one out already.
I did one.
What happened in that fight, and what are your thoughts on Bob Sapp?
Well, I reckon. See, I got the fight with Bob Sapp, and it happened about just under a year before it actually happened, because my agent was in talks with SFL. He was going to be the CEO, so they were sorting the matches out before. So yeah, Bob Sapp, okay, good fight, big guy, blah blah blah. And then when that happened, he just suddenly started. He'd been doing it a little bit anyway, but he just seemed to completely just throw in the towel. I think, fuck it.
What'd you call it? The Tapout Tour?
The towel.
Oh.
Yeah, but Tapout, that's good though. But he basically, that's it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what he did. Decided, fuck it. You know, it's hard. A lot of people, fighters will tell you, it's not the fight, it's the training.
Right, but you were the first one to say that back in the day he had that love of MMA, and he had that fire. Even though he always looked like a bit of a freak,
Yeah,
and he was kind of a freak show for Japan. But man, he made a ton of money in Japan. He was a superstar in Japan.
See, he was very interesting, Bob Sapp, because me and my missus, we went to do the press conference, and he was like so friendly, nice guy. I felt bad about writing the blog because he's nice. Well, as much as I could do, he was nice. He was friendly. He talked. You think I talk a lot? Jesus, that guy really talked. I sat across from him at dinner, and I was thinking, I don't mind.
You had dinner with him before the fight?
Yeah, we all went out. So he sat right across from me. I didn't really want to be sat across from him because I thought I am going to fight him, and I don't mind talking to guys, but I always keep a level of we will be punching each other in the face.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always aware of that, and I'm always looking for like a little weakness or something what they might show. What I might. So I thought, okay, I'll use it for that. Now he was telling me about his career, how he went bankrupt, how he had a check for $1.5 million because he had an insurance he didn't know about the NFL. Really interesting stuff. And my missus, who's pretty straight talking, said, "Why do you still fight? If you got all this money, why do you still fight?" And he said, I thought, I want to hear the answer to this. So he said, I do it because I'm addicted to the fame. And I thought, quite an honest answer. Addicted to the attention and the fame, even if it's negative. And I thought, I still think he's skin, but I think part of his answer was correct. Now, he turns up. The organisation, I don't think they say to him, right, Bob, take a fall in this, where he just turns up and he'll put a little bit of a fight, and as soon as he comes on top, he'll tap out, which is exactly what I put.
That's what you thought would happen.
To be honest, I was hitting him and I was thinking, why is he not tapping out? Because I didn't train for that fight very hard at all. So I knew I only had a round in me, but so I thought, why is he not tapping out? And then he actually reversed me.
Yeah.
And then he landed a hammer fist, and he's big, man. And he fucking hurt. Like he hit me, and my head shook. And I just, as he hit me, it was almost like he was sending them, and I'm just going, I can't lose to Bob Sapp. I can't lose to Bob Sapp. I can't lose to Bob Sapp. And I just took, and I think, and he gave up. He didn't hurt his knee. He was on his knee. You know, in my blog, I talk about how he actually interviewed me about the fight I just had with him, and it was very surreal. At the nightclub, you know, he ended up taking the microphone off the lady who, you know, on the red carpet where we all have it, and he was talking instead of the lady, and I thought, and he was going through the fighters, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to talk to me about me beating him and how he's given up. But he actually got in touch with me from the blog, pretending to be someone else. Pretending to be a girl, and I know it was Bob Sapp because he talks like he writes. He does. He talks like it, and he was so. And he was saying,
"You have a crazy life, James."
Yeah. Well, this is what I realised as well. I've got quite a mad, and I didn't really realise it, but that's why I'm enjoying my book so much. And everything in my book is 100% real. And I'm thinking, I don't need to make anything up. I just write it. And I'm really enjoying it. But
you think it was a girl trolling you? All right, I have to ask you, how do you make sure that you don't turn into Bob Sapp? Or is there or will you? Or maybe you want to become Bob Sapp?
No, I don't want to become Bob Sapp. God love him. Hey, I'm at that stage now where it would have happened because I'm too far gone now. I get it now. Now I don't get all of it, because as soon as you think you get all of it, that's the irony. You don't get all of it at all. Do you know what I mean? But I do get, through being honest with myself, where I am, what I want to achieve, and that I've got no fear of ever, 'cause like I say, I'm as far from Bob Sapp as I could possibly be, because I will never tap again. I'm not saying I won't ever lose. I'm not saying I won't have my leg. I might be in here in a wheelchair. I'm not saying that, but I won't. Now Bob Sapp taps as soon, and he explained in his interview with Ariel why. He said, "I used to get the big money. He's not. I know he's not. I'm not getting that money now. I'm not putting myself through that. I'm not. Why should I risk injury for this and that? I mean, the answer to that is why you should risk it, because you're a fighter and that's what you're doing and that's what people pay to see." But that's what he said, and I thought, well, okay.
But through a celebrity, he's sort of circumvented that, hasn't it? That people aren't necessarily paying to see him win or perform. They're just paying to see him turn up and be the beast.
Because they don't follow MMA. So it's a local show, like a big local show in Australia or Singapore, and they don't know. A lot of them people don't know that Bob Sapp lost to me before. They just see this massive guy, and then their local guy wins, and that's what he gets paid for. So that's what it is. Now, I'm sorry that I pointed that out, because I like him. And he contacted me on Twitter and we went back and forth, and he said I was a sellout because he offered to get me some wrestling matches, and I said yeah, and he was like, I've got the emails. I was like, yeah, of what? Of me saying I'd do a wrestling fight.
Maybe he's just building up the rematch. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not going that direction. But
All right, I've got to ask you about one other guy, and make sure we cover him. Pudzianowski.
oh yeah,
He was known for being one of like the world's strongest man contest. He was the world's strongest man, right?
Yeah,
Or was he a
several
body?
times.
Yeah,
several
times,
times. And was he a competitive bodybuilder before that, or was he just the strongest man?
I think he went into strongman, but when he went into strongman, he had I remember watching him, because all the family used to watch Christmas. You know,
All the strong men.
eating all chocolates. Yeah, I mean, he's got the six pack, and and it was so much fun watching a guy, because usually they're fat, and he was like ripped to death and smashing it.
These are the guys that like lift giant rocks, and they
of
pull the
course.
trucks, and they do these farmers walks with huge weights, in case anyone hasn't seen it. But then he decided to make his MMA debut, and you said earlier you knew that because of his size he was going to have problems, because you had the same experience.
100%.
And how did you end up fighting him? How did that all happen?
It's a bit like the Kimbo that I was the guy brought in to lose, with a certain amount of credibility, and I mean at the time that was possibly fighting wise the lowest I've ever felt. I mean, I went to America to train for that fight because I'd gambled loads of money. I owed people money. I was at the airport, I had a list, and I rang up all my friends and I said, yeah, listen, I'm going to America, I owe you this money, you're not going to get it for a bit, when I get back you'll get it, I'm just letting you know. And I had a list of people I rang and apologised. So at least, cause that's the only thing I got out of it, I've still got a good name, because I paid all them people, they had to wait for it, and I apologised, but I paid them anyway. I went to America, it didn't go to plan, because I don't drive, the whole story, it didn't go to plan. I came back, my missus, we weren't together at the time, but she said I could stay, just as friends. She did, she was there for me, and I started training. Now I wasn't fit at all, like I actually went to the fight, and Pudzianowski's there.
This is in Poland you fought?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to the not the fight, sorry, the press conference, and I'm like out of shape. Like I've been training hard, but I've had 6 months of. Do you know what I mean? So I went there, and I'm still out of shape, and Pudzianowski's oiled up, 6-pack gleaming in the distance, like loads of people, doing all the press conference and that. And I'm there, and they gave me the shorts, the KSW shorts. I put them on, I couldn't fasten them. I couldn't get them around my fat belly. I was like, I've got a bigger. No, that's it. They had to cut them at the back so I could get in them. It was absolutely, and I thought, oh my God, James, you got to sort it. Now, when it came to the fight, I was like in a bad place. Now, I've only told my missus this. I was at a point I talked about low points quite a lot, but this was another one, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen because I didn't go through with it, but I was thinking of ringing up KSW and saying to them, right, pay me an extra this and I'll throw it. That's how, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to fight anymore. And I thought, I'll lose this and then I'll be out. It's almost like, and then I can't. No one wants me then anyway. So I didn't do it. I decided to train. I got relatively fit, even though I looked like crap. And then when I went to the fight, we were fighting Barra, and there's a point, and it's very, very interesting to me to watch it, because there's a point where I go, I'm trying to be standing, and he's catching me. Now, Pudzianowski's not a great stand-up guy, do you know what I mean? But he's catching me to the punch a couple of times, and he hit me, and this is why I know that it's so important to be mentally switched on, and to want it, because he hit me, and I didn't do it to be tough, but I put my hands down, and I went, and mentally I said, knock me out then. Not to be strong, but to be like, prove everyone right. I'm shit. I've got a glass jaw, knock me out. So I did, and he hit me like 3-4 times, straight on the button, and then I was like, kind of snapped into reality, like, oh fuck, that hurt, and he's tired. And then I jumped on him and got the win shortly after. But I had given up for that brief second. I thought, fuck it, knock me out then, because I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't happy with where I was, what I was doing, and the whole thing. Even though I never did it, it was only me talking to my missus about the fact that I was thinking like that. The fact that, like I said before about the suicide, I didn't do it obviously, but the fact that I'm thinking like that is such a negative thing. But I won't change it, because now I can see it, and from that I can do pretty much the opposite, which is what I'm doing.
I forget how. I mean, I'm not a fighter, but it's so emotional.
Yeah, that's the other thing. What I figured out when I had a problem, because one, I'm quite sensitive to criticism, like a lot of people are, and the other thing is that I'm sure you know this, Pete. I haven't got a big ego, but when you fight and you're doing quite well, when's your next fight? When's this? And you become Pete the cage fighter. I became James the cage fighter. I was my job. So when I had a loss, and when they came before gambling, when I had a loss, that wasn't just a knockout and this, and that was me, and that was them things what they said was so hurtful. I was like, and it took the wind out of me. Where eventually that happened, because I didn't separate the two, which is what I do now.
Your career from the person.
But and this is what I can do. I can do lots of things. I can write. I can do, and that's why I say I need to fight for the money. I haven't got any money at the moment. I'm not doing it for the money, but the money. It's not like when I say I don't need to do it. It implies that maybe I'm okay. I've got money. But I'm not fighting for the money.
Okay.
I'm fighting because I know I can do other things, because I'm doing other things and they're working. So that's a big difference for me now. I've separated the fighter and I see a lot of people without wanting to come across like I know it all or this or that, and I've got to be careful not to come across like that when I see young fighters trying to explain that you are more than. Yes, you want to win. Yes, you need to train hard. Yes, you got to be mentally fit. That doesn't mean that dismisses all them things. That, of course, you want to win and do that. You want to do it for yourself. I want to win, but you are not that fighter.
Pete, can I get your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it is important in the end to compartmentalise, or to understand the difference between the value of you as a fighter against the value of you as a human being, and they're not one and the same. But then they are connected, They, like we talked about Bob Sapp before, where Bob admitted that he was just interested in having the attention and the fame, regardless of whether it was positive or negative, just to be in the limelight. And so if he's completely divorced his value as a human being from his value as a fighter, then he's willing to tap for nothing. Or
I think you made a good point there. That's why it's so difficult sometimes, because they are linked. Do you know what I mean? They are linked. You do take that, and you should do, because you're putting yourself through the fire So you shut, so it is, but at the same time, not to go. You're more these other things as well as that's the balancing act, like so many things.
It's a hard profession, really, to in a lot of respects, but it's a hard profession to divorce like that. You know, in a way that, you know, everybody in whatever profession is going to have some professional pride, but it's very hard to separate. You know, I'm sure there are other professions that are.
If you do separate
this is like performing and also fighting at the same time, and there's it is different.
I mean, if you do separate it, maybe you too much, maybe that takes away from your passion and you. So it's, and again, so I don't think there's any one answer to it. I think it's an answer only you to be aware of and to watch and to be careful of the traps, because if you're taking a loss, when you're meant to take a loss badly, like when I said to my friend Zal, he lost it, I said, how do you feel? He said, shit. I said, good. Because if you felt good, that's definitely wrong. So you're meant to feel shit, just like you're meant to feel scared before you're meant to fight, or nervous. So there's no right or wrong answer, because like strangely enough, I never really thought they are linked at the same time. You can't divorce them completely, and you don't want to divorce them completely, but it's just all about which one is best for you. What's the best concoction for you as a fighter?
Pete, when you were on, like, or when you get on a winning streak, do you find sometimes that all of a sudden you are now Pete the fighter, and everyone rallies around you and they know you as Pete the fighter, Pete the winner?
Sure, yeah. People do treat you differently when you're on a high and when you're on a low.
Is there something you don't like about that?
Yeah, sure. You kind of probably, you know, like you were saying, you're a self-aware guy too, you know, and you are conscious of the fact that people are a little bit phony, whether they mean to be or not. You know, they recognize you as a winner and they want to attach themselves to you. And then when you're a loser, people want to separate themselves from you. And whether they're doing it consciously or not, it's hard to accept, but it's hard not to go along with it as well. It's you know, it's nice when everybody wants to know you, everybody wants to be a friend. Of course, it's easy to fall for, you know, even when you know that it's a little bit phony.
I saw Pete fight 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and it was out by Gatwick. When was that? I guess 3 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And you won that fight after it was great, because it was like the first round was very tough, and you came back and won it. And I was there with a mate of mine, and I even felt myself becoming that guy a little bit. I mean, and I trained with you all the time and stuff, and I was just like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, when you're friends, and it's, you know, it's genuine. You know, there's, you know, it's peripheral people that, you know, that seem to offer you something. That's when it's a problem.
I think the thing is too, what it's like almost. So I put myself in that position. Say you lost a fight, and I say you have to. It's not that I would ignore you. I wouldn't do that, obviously. But it's almost like you don't. There's nothing you can say.
Yeah.
You know, if I lost a fight, there's nothing you know. There's nothing you. So you just, you know, give a pat on the back.
Yeah, you can't say anything otherwise. Yeah, you're just sort of patronising.
Whereas if you win, you know, it's nice. You can, wow. But then again, you have the different levels of people. But that comes with. Knowing people and knowing yourself and knowing the situation you're in, and like you're saying, being aware again.
I guess that comes with everything a bit. You know, we got a few minutes left, but I want to ask you. You fought Alistair Overeem in your past. We saw him fight last weekend, and we saw him get banned for PE. Well, for pissing hot on a PED test like 6 months or a year ago, and he came in and he looked different. And he lost a fight to Bigfoot Silva, who looked great, by the way. And I just want to know what your thoughts, having fought him, having seen him go through this great peak, and now seeing him after testing and maybe not being on the performance-enhancing drugs. Crow Cop came out and was just like, he's been doing this all along, and it made him aggressive and all this stuff. What are your thoughts?
Wow, I mean, that's such a big one, the PEDs, and what's fair, what's not fair. You know, it's such a big question. Now, he got overconfident in that fight and he paid the price. And I think I think it's good, not God dislike Alistair Overeem, but I think it's good for fans, because I saw the message boards and hell, how long's Bigfoot going to be knocked out for? Everyone's kind of forgetting that this is a guy who cuts to get to 120, who has some massive wins.
Fedor.
Yeah, and he knows his stuff. And it's MMA.
Yeah, and like Pete said, it's heavyweight division.
Yeah, of course. So plus the timing with he obviously was more careful about what he took, and that had an effect. You might say, oh, he don't take anything out. I can't be bothered with it. I'm not even gonna have an argument with anyone about that. Cause the guy fought in Pride at middleweight. Do you know what I mean? And I am not judging him for that either. But what I'm saying is, where he is and what happened, and with the overcockiness, just caught up with him. And that happens. Now, to come back from that, he's going to be, he's down to all this over. He's a top, he's one of the best fighters in the world. And I'm sure, I don't know if he will. Actually, I was going to say I'm sure he will, but do you know what? I don't know if he will.
I mean, you've come back from big losses. I mean, would you give him any advice?
It's not.
It's not the same. It's not the same, but is it the same?
No,
I mean, your fight with Kimbo was.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same because he's had so much more success and he's a better fighter than I am.
Yeah, but mentally dealing with it,
that's the thing. That's the thing. So I will watch it with interest. I hope he comes back, and I hope anyone who. But I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be hard for him, and also you get to that level when you've been up there and you've been, I've seen it in Brock Lesnar. He just, with the operation as well, and I'm sure there's lots of things what I don't know about or anyone knows about, but I thought, forget this.
Yeah, once you took that knee to the gut, I just think he's thinking, why I don't need to be here anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as you think that, game over.
Do you get emotional when you fight, Pete?
I've ironed it out pretty well now. I'm pretty emotionally cold. But it took a while.
Of learning process.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a bad thing to be emotional? Or too emotional, I suppose. But
I think I used to let some problems from my life come in and try to take them into the ring, try to exercise those demons and use it to and it was a mistake. It didn't really work for me. And then I flipped right to the other way where I'm going just not really bothered and a little bit not fired up enough, So it's a hard balancing act. One fight to the next, everything changes. But yeah, I try to be pretty impersonal and emotionally cold about it.
I wanted to ask you both one question, and then I got to wrap this up. But Pete, once you told me that when you have a fight with a guy. Okay, a lot of people see MMA for the first time, and afterwards the fighters kind of embrace and things like that, which most people find strange when they've watched boxing where that doesn't happen. But Pete, you once said that the guy across the ring is probably the only guy in the whole stadium that knows what you've gone through.
Yeah.
To prepare for that fight, and nobody knows. Your trainers don't know, your girlfriends don't know, and the fans sure as hell don't know. And so you have this kind of kindred spirit with that guy, even if you can't ever express it.
Yeah, I just fought there in Estonia this weekend,
and
had a very, very pleasant time with all the Estonian guys. And it turned out all the guys that were coming and picking us up and taking us out to dinner and paying for our meals and all this kind of stuff, they were all my opponent's buddies, and we saw them there in the corner with them afterwards. And then they came out afterwards, and we sat next to each other and shared a drink and talked about the fight, and it was completely amicable, and it was really nice. I think you started voicing your sort of frustrations before with traditional martial arts and things like that. I think sometimes people in non-competitive martial arts, they want to jump straight to budo. They bypass the combat and the competition and go straight to the wisdom and the spiritual side of things, and end up just sort of parroting something that Miyamoto Musashi said or something like that. As if the great masters, and they don't need to do all this. But when you go through that mill, where you've had the highs, had the lows, you've had the beatings, and then you start to come out the other side, and I think then you get licensed to discover those things.
Oh, you do. There's one thing reading about in a book and going, oh yeah, that's, and there's one thing being in it.
Yeah.
Especially when it's pain and emotional and physical. So yeah, I think Pete's right, even though I can't remember the question.
That's better because I won't have to cut you off. Is there anything any advice you would give to the younger James Thompson? If you could give him a ring on the phone, like the 20-year-old, and say, do this or don't do that.
I'd say, crack on, son. Do exactly what you're gonna do, because that's how I got here, and I like who I am now. I really do, and that has made me all of it. Cause I'm like this now. I got through it, and it was 4 years, 5 years, and I'm like, shit. I look back, I feel sick. It was horrible. The dread of fighting, the like, just exactly like Pete said, of losing, of being called, of people, because that was me. Of all the things I've talked about, that was terrible. The gambling, which I couldn't stop, even though I was aware of it. I stole off I crept upstairs and went in a purse and took a credit card out and lost $6,000 in about 20 minutes. I'm just like all of it, I'd do it again, no problem, because as long as I'm exactly where I am now, and that's okay. So that's. So I'll probably say duck a little bit, because when I did my video and I look back from it was 10 years old, I was like, Jesus. I didn't think I'd changed that much. I was like, Jesus, my nose. What's happened to my nose? I used to be good looking.
You don't look that bad.
Oh, cheers, pal.
I've seen worse.
Yeah, well, that's it.
You looked at me when you said that.
Yeah, that's
Jesus
it. Yeah,
Christ.
I'm looking at you when I do that.
I've only had my nose broken once. So that's awesome. Thanks so much for your honesty, James. I appreciate it. It's probably surprising to most people. So how do people get a hold of you? Tell us about your podcast, website, all that good stuff.
Well, I'm getting everything onto one website. So, I mean, I'm doing that at the moment, but my Twitter's Colossus.
You're quite active on that.
I've completely become addicted to that. I've turned. It is fun.
Once you get enough followers and enough chat, it's fun.
And I like it. I try and respond to everyone, and even like trolls and people who have got bad things to say. I'm interested. I don't want to spend. I made the mistake of spending too much time on it, and almost trying to. It sounds so arrogant, but almost trying to cure them, because anyone who's sat there just spewing out evil, even if it's whatever, is not well. Do you know what I mean? They're not well.
I used to ignore the haters and just be like, just keep the positive energy. But funny enough, if you listen to about 10 of them, sometimes they have a good point. Oh, it's really weird.
Well, not only that, but let me just tell you this.
I hate to say that, but it's true.
No, that's true. And what I found, I was on Rogan's board, and everyone was saying about our blog, oh, that's good. All right, thank you. And then one guy came out of nowhere, someone started saying, oh, you drink bleach, die, fucking, your mother's a whore. And I was like, God, that's an old insult. We're going old school. I'm just bantering. Anyway, some guy messaged me and said, oh, don't worry about that guy. I was like, oh, what guy? Oh, that guy, he's drinking. He's made 3 threads about him drinking. So I said, oh, can you send me the thread? Yeah. So I looked at the threads, and they were all dark. Now, I've been in dark places, and I was like, oh, Jesus. So I sent him a message. I said, you right, pal? Sorry about. I did say sorry. I said, you right, pal? Just a bit of banter. I hope you don't mind. I looked at your previous post. There's some dark stuff going on there. I said, what's all this drinking yourself to death shit? And he said, I'm thinking I'm having a tough time. I'm thinking about starting a blog myself. I'm writing my experiences down and to help me through it. I said, yeah, you should do that. Why not? Don't worry about people slagging off, i.e. you, because you're scared of yourself, because Jesus. That's what you've just done to me. But whatever.
That was me, by the way.
Yeah, I thought I recognised the picture. No, but that's what he's scared of himself, because that's what he's doing. Now, I said all that. I think sent it. He said, yeah, no worries, mate. I'll keep reading. Class, blah blah blah, and that was it. Now, that didn't take much. But that is where it's coming from, because he was on a thread about my blog because he wants to do it. So that when I say arrogantly, so when I get real haters, I want another guy.
You want to heal them. I have to cut you off. You're like going healing the world is what you're doing.
You know,
All right, you
You know you can't let me speak. You know I was on the verge of just
Jesus. All right, so Twitter, J Colossus.
Oh yeah, shit, I haven't finished that.
That's one L, by the way, in case you don't know.
It's James Colossus, James the Colossus Thompson on my Facebook. My videos on my YouTube is the Colossus Collective. Subscribe to that. I've got 2 coming. One about Pudzianowski, which is going to be good, and the other about trolls. Funny enough,
are you going to fight him again, by the way?
Hopefully.
Okay.
I'm trying.
All right, we'll talk about it another time. And your website is colossalconcerns.com?
My blog is colossalconcerns.com. If you follow me on Twitter and Facebook, when I get the website up, which is going to have everything and a lot more, all under one roof.
Okay, and your podcast?
Colossus Concerns on iTunes. Check it out.
Jesus, Pete, what are you doing with your spare time? Look at him.
I've got a Twitter, but I never write anything on it.
What's your Twitter, by the way? Or do you want these people to know?
Yeah, I think it's at Irving Valley Tudor.
At Irving Valley Tudor.
Yes.
You're trying to keep that on the down low, aren't you? Okay, awesome. I think you're off to LA maybe later this month.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, awesome. Well, lots of luck out there. What are you laughing at?
I'm just looking at you with the time.
I'm trying to wrap this up. I just wanted to thank the guys at Hover, which are our sponsor. They're a domain name register. They are actually going to give a free domain name to whoever tweets the best quote from this episode. Ooh. And Jesus, there's been a lot of them.
Yeah, you got a few.
Alchemist, except I used shit into gold or something. Anyways, if you tweet that and the URL of YouTube and the hashtag Hover Domain, you get a free URL. If you use that URL to start your own podcast, like Atlanta Real, then I promise to give you a 15-minute Skype conversation and bring you up the curve, because I love people that do podcasts. That's why I love James so much. I've never even said that. Okay, guys, thanks so much. Appreciate it. If anyone wants to see our pretty faces, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is London Real TV. Follow us on Twitter. Come join the conversation. We're on Facebook. And come see us at londonreal.tv. Anything else? For now, at least.
Bye.
Thank you, Pete.
Pete just nodded.
All right, guys. It's about the journey.
No, indeed.
All right, peace.
And our kids we would take on if they score 16 or more.
Right.
So the higher the score, the more behavioural difficulty they have. Having said that, our average starting score is about 29. So it's quite a high level of
So what would that mean in real life? What would that child be doing? What
so
sort
our
of behaviours?
typical